أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
पनाह मांगता हूँ मैं अल्लाह की शैतान मरदूद से।
बिस्म इल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम।
शुरू अल्लाह का नाम लेकर जो बड़ा मेहरबान निहायत रहम वाला है।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum brothers and sisters, and welcome to my show Future Stars. I'm your host Alvia Zaidi, and today we'll be talking about nature in Islam. So that includes all the trees and the grass and the plants and flowers and animals, all of Allah's creations, all outside. And we'll be talking about trees and birds, and we'll be having poems and stories to go with this topic today. And to join us today with our topic, nature, we have Sister Zainab and Brother Abbas. And we'll be giving poems and stories and facts about nature, so you can learn a bit more about nature in Islam and also nature today. So to start off with, we're going to have some facts by Sister Zainab, and these are just a few facts about nature.
Did you know a bear has 42 teeth? An ostrich's eyes is bigger than its brain. Did you know most lipstick contains fish scales? Lemons contain more sugar than strawberries. Did you know 85% of plant life is found in the ocean? Did you know rabbits like licorice? And lobster's blood is colorless, but when open to oxygen, it turns blue.
Mashallah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for sharing those few facts about nature. And also, if anybody would like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, and you can phone in to ask a question about nature or give us some facts that you have, or maybe just comment on today's topic. So, next thing is that next thing we're going to do is just share with you the definition of nature and also what exactly is nature. So it is the phenomena of the physical world, collectively including plants, animals, landscape and other features and products of the physical force. The physical force regarded as causing and regulating these phenomena it is impossible to change the laws of nature. So that definition is explaining that it includes plants, animals, landscapes, so trees and fields and things like that, and other features about the outside world. And nature is all around us. It makes up the world that we live in. It includes trees, ponds, grass, forests, fields, flowers, animals, and so much more. We should care for nature and everything around us because, like ourselves, Allah has created them, and in Islam we are taught to care for all of Allah's creations and treat them with respect. So that's just a little definition and explanation of nature, and we're going to move on to Brother Abbas's few ways on how to save the environment.
Ways to save the environment: recycle, switch off sockets when not using them, switch off lights when not using them, change light bulbs into energy-saving light bulbs, switch off appliances when not using them, don't just leave them on standby, reduce your water usage, when printing off work, try to print double-sided or use as little as possible as paper, plants, trees or flowers or anything you like, grow organic food.
Mashallah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for sharing that with us. So that was just a few ways on how to save the environment. As we know, because of the world is getting difficult to save to save nature as it's wearing out. So there's just a few ways on how you can respect nature and respect the creations of Allah. So now we're going to move on to a story that I have here, and this is the story of two gardens, and this is about two men and their gardens and Allah's creations. So it starts off, long ago there lived two friends. One of them was a rich gardener while the other one was a poor farmer. The gardener owned a huge plot of land. He cultivated his land very ably and developed it into two beautiful and blooming gardens. They were full of flowers and all kinds of fruits, especially grapes and dates. The vineyards were set about with palm trees and watered by a running stream. So we have a picture here. So just a picture showing the trees and the flowers at the bottom, and then here we have flowers and there's a butterfly and the tree up here as well. So whenever the gardener would visit his gardens, he would be thrilled by seeing trees laden with ripe fruits. His heart would be filled with pride, but also with arrogance. So another picture here, and we have all the trees full with fruits on the top, and also a tree with animals sitting around and a squirrel going across this tree. And that's to show the beauty of his garden. He would think this was all a result of his hard work and his clever planning. He would ignore the fact that his entire fortune was actually a blessing from Allah. Without Allah's help, no one can achieve a single thing on this earth. One day, his friend, the poor farmer, visited him. The gardener took him around his beautiful garden and proudly said, "I am richer than you and my clan is mightier than yours." Looking at his gardens, he continued, "Surely this will never be destroyed." Puffed up with the evil of wealth, he went on denying the day of judgment. "Nor do I believe that the hour of doom will ever come," said the rich gardener. Then he added, "If I return to my Lord, I shall surely find a better place than this." Little did he realize the fact that all of this was wishful thinking. So just another picture about his great beautiful garden, and this is all his flowers and animals across, and trees and the expensive plants. When the poor farmer noticed that his friend was behaving in a wicked way, he tried to correct him. He added, "Have you no faith in him who created you from dust, from a little germ, and fashioned you into a man?" The poor man went on, "As for myself, Allah is my Lord, and I will associate no one else with him." He advised the gardener that instead of entering the garden proudly, he should have gone into it with all humility and should have said, "What Allah has ordained must surely come to pass. There is no strength except in Allah." "Though you see me poorer than yourself and blessed with fewer children," the farmer argued, "yet my Lord may give me a garden better than yours and send down thunderbolts from heaven upon your vineyards, turning them into barren waste, or drain the water deep down into the earth, so you will get no benefit from it." The very next day was struck by calamity. All the fruits were destroyed, and the gardener wrung his hand with grief at all that he had realized as he realized that all he had spent on them for the vines had tumbled down their trellises. So this picture is explaining the calamity that struck, so this lightning bolt, and all of his plants, so the trees here and the plants and flowers here and the fruits were all getting destroyed by this lightning bolt here. On seeing this, he realized his mistake and cried, would that I had served no other gods beside my Lord." So on this picture of the book, you see that it's the remaining of is the remnants of his garden. So you can see all the trees have no leaves and no branches and no fruits, and there's no grass growing, and all the flowers have gone, and all the animals have disappeared too. This story is meant to teach believers never to speak proudly, but to say in all humility, whatever Allah has ordained must surely come to pass. There's no power save with Allah. So just the last picture showing the ending of the story with the tree and how his whole garden has been destroyed because he didn't respect his nature around him, and he didn't respect what had been blessed to him by Allah. So that story, as I said, explains how you should respect nature and also be thankful to Allah for having your bounties around you. So now we're going to move on to a poem that Sister Zainab has for us, and this poem is about minor birds.
I have wished a bird would fly away and not sing by my house all day. I have clapped my hands at him from the door when it seems as if I could bear no more. The fault must partly have been in me. The bird was not to blame for his key. And of course there must be something wrong in wanting to silence any song.
MashaAllah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for sharing that poem with us. It's a short poem just explaining about little birds throughout nature and also explaining about respect. So now we're going to move on to a story that I have here, and this story is about the little ants and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his companions once paused during a journey and made a camp where they could rest. The Prophet went round the camp talking to the men and making sure that everything was all right. Then, not far away, he saw a fire. Someone had lit the fire to keep themselves warm. The Prophet walked over towards the man who had lit the fire to talk to him. Suddenly he saw that not far away there was an anthill. The ants could be seen running about near the hill, working very hard as ants do. Some of the ants were further away from the anthill than others, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saw that they were getting very close to the fire the man had lit. If they came much closer, the ants might be burned up or harmed in some way. The Prophet was very disturbed to see this. The ants were in great danger. This means that God's living creatures were in great danger. "Who has made the fire here?" he asked. The man who made the fire looked up. "I made the fire, O Messenger of Allah," he replied. "It is cold and I needed to make myself warm," he continued. "Quick," said the Prophet, "put out the fire, put out the fire." The man obeyed at once. He took a blanket and beat the fire until the flames died away. And before I continue with this story about what happened with the fire and the ants, there is a caller on the line. So, hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you, Alvia?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Just want to appreciate your efforts towards the good cause. Just want to say that your program is very popular and all the stories and all the topics are great, and keep it up.
MashaAllah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for phoning in. And MashaAllah, if anybody else like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, and you can phone in to ask a question, or maybe you'd like to comment on today's topic, maybe you'd like to recite something. So the number's at the bottom of your screen. So continuing with the story about the little ants and the fire. So then the man looked around and saw that there were ants near to where the fire had been. He realized then that the Prophet had been worried about the ants. He did not want the fire to hurt them, and in his great mercy had ordered the fire to be put out. Ever afterwards, the man always remembered to look around carefully before he made a fire. There might be ants or other animals nearby, he said to himself, and Allah forbids that any man should hurt them. And it finishes off with a lovely picture of the fire and little ants scurrying about, and the ants are quite close to the fire, so it's just explaining about the part of the story where the prophet was worried that ants would catch on fire. So that finishes one story about the prophet and also his respect to animals and nature. And following that story, we're going to move on to some facts by Brother Abbas, and these are just facts about nature.
The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is the world's largest reef system. The waste order of importance and reduce, reuse and recycle. Around 75% of the volcanoes on Earth are found in the Pacific Ring of Fire, an area around the Pacific Ocean where tectonic plants meet. Despite its name, the killer whale is actually a type of dolphin. Giant water lilies in the Amazon can grow over 6 feet in diameter. The largest ocean on Earth is the Pacific Ocean. The largest individual flower on Earth is called the Rafflesia Arnoldi.
If I could just stop you there for a moment, as we have a caller on the line. So, hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Alvia?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine. Your program is very good.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today? Okay, so it seems like the call has dropped, but if you'd like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, and I'm sure that we'd like to finish off to hear what you were saying. And also, if anybody else likes to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen to phone in about asking any questions or share your thoughts about today's topic, or even recite something if you'd like to. So the number's at the bottom of your screen. And now we're just going to go back to Brother Abbas's facts that he had as we just left off.
Its flowers reach up to 1 meter, 3 feet in diameter, and weight in around 10 kilograms. Plants on the surface of the earth have existed for over 400 million years. Unlike humans, cows and horses sleep while standing up. When an insect touches the hairs of a Venus flytrap, it triggers the plant to close, trapping its victim before killing and dissolving it in acid. Although polar bears have white, fluffy fur, their skin is actually black. Female lions are better hunters than male lions and do most of the hunting for pride. Around 3/4 of the increase in CO2 levels from humanity activity over the last 20 years is from burning of fossil fuels. The rest is made up largely of land use changes such as deforestation. The largest land-based mammals on Earth are elephants.
Mashallah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for sharing those few facts with us. So just some more facts to give you and inform you about surprising things about nature. And now we're going to move on to another story that I have here. And this story is to continue with loving all creatures, which is the title of the book. And this story is about a thirsty dog. One day, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told his friends a story about a man who went on a journey. The day the man left home to start his journey, it was very hot. The sun was bright and blazing in the sky. The earth beneath the man's feet was burning hot. The man had not gone very far before his head began to ache. The heat made him feel very tired and his mouth felt very dry. I must find some water or I shall die of thirst, the man said to himself. He began to look for water. The first well he went to was very dry, and so was the second. The man began to feel hotter and hotter. Then at last he found another well and saw that it was full of water. Allah be praised, the man said. I have now found water at last. Now I can drink. Then the man remembered that he had not brought a rope or a bucket with him. He searched round the well and looked inside, then searched again. But there was no bucket or rope to be found. Now, before we continue to tell you about what happened about this man and the well, there's a caller on the line. So, hello, assalamu alaikum.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Walaikum assalam.
क्या हाल है, आप ठीक हैं?
I'm fine, thank you.
आप बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम कर रही हैं। अल्लाह ताला आपके इस प्रोग्राम में, आपके इल्म में, आपके फजल में मज़ीद इजाफा करे और आपका भी इल्म में और आपके साथियों के इल्म में भी।
Mashallah, thank you very much. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
ओके, अल्लाह हाफ़िज़, अल्लाह हाफ़िज़।
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much for calling in also. And also, if anybody else like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, so you can phone in to comment on today's topic, or maybe like to ask us a question, or maybe you'd like to recite something, so the number's at the bottom of your screen. So we're just going to continue with this story. So what previously happened was a man who went on a journey in a search, and he went to search for a well as it was very hot. So this is continued on. How am I going to get the water, he thought. There was only one way. He had to climb down to the well. Carefully, the man climbed over the side of the well and began to climb downwards. He was so tired from the heat that he found it very difficult. But after a while, he began to feel better because it was nice and cool inside. At long last, the man reached the water. He put his hands down and felt the cool water between his fingers. It was a wonderful feeling. The man drank until he could no longer feel thirsty. Then he rubbed the water over his face and his neck. He dipped the corners of his robe in the water so that it would keep him cool for a while when he left the well. The man felt much better now. Water is the liquid of life, he thought, and Allah is the giver of water. Allah be praised. When the man had finished, he began to climb up and out of the well. It was difficult and took a lot of strength, but at last the man reached the top of the well and climbed out again onto the hot ground. Suddenly he heard a sound. It was a dog whining and crying. The man turned around and saw the dog nearby. The poor animal was very thirsty. Its mouth was open and it was panting. The dog was sniffing at the ground, and the man could see that it was very tired and very thirsty. The dog came up to him and began to lick the bottom of his robe where it was wet. The man felt great pity for this dog. This poor animal is thirsty, and I was just as I was thirsty until I found this well, he said. He will die of thirst if he does not get any water. The man stroked the dog's head, and the dog wagged his tail. He was grateful for the water he licked from the man's robe. Wait here, the man said. I will get you some water. The man put first one leg and then the other leg over the side of the well and began to climb downwards once more. But he was no longer thirsty. He found the climb much easier than before. When the man reached the water, he held onto the side of the well very tightly. Then he took off his leather socks. He dipped the socks into the water until they were full. Then he put the edges of the socks into his mouth and held them very firmly between his teeth. And before we continue and know what happens next, we have another caller on the line. So, hello, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm fine.
That's good. And
Okay, your program is very good.
okay. And what would you like to share with us today?
What?
What would you like to share with us today?
Side of Quran? No, not just this time.
Okay. Okay, so if you'd like to start reciting as soon as you're ready.
I can't understand. What are you saying?
So what are you going to recite for us today? Okay, so it seems as though the caller has dropped, but if you'd just like to phone back in, and I'm sure we'd love to hear what you're going to recite, and also if anybody else that would like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, and you can phone in to recite something, or maybe ask a question, or you can even comment today on today's topic. So number's at the bottom of your screen. So we're just going to continue with the story. He began to climb upwards again. It was very hard this time. The socks were full of water and they were very heavy, and his mouth and teeth began to hurt. But the man did not stop. Slowly he climbed upwards until he reached the very top of the well. When he reached the ground again, he knelt down and opened the first sock so the dog could get its muzzle inside. The dog drank all of the water without stopping. Then the man opened the other sock, and the dog drank all of that water too. All the time he drank, the dog's tail was wagging. The man smiled. "This dog is happy now," he said. "He will not die of thirst, and neither will I." Allah was very pleased with the man who had treated the thirsty dog so kindly. For this kind act, Allah forgave the man of the sins he had committed in his life. Here the Prophet came to the end of his story. After the Prophet had finished speaking, one of his friends said, "O Messenger of Allah, if we are good to animals, will we also be forgiven of our sins?" "Yes," the Prophet replied, "you will be rewarded for being good to all living creatures." The man in the story went to paradise for his kind act. So this story is just another story explaining about the Prophet and his teaching of respect to animals. And this one was specifically about a dog, but it's also explaining about how you should respect all living creatures and all of nature around you. So now we're going to move on to a poem by Sister Zainab, and this is a poem about nature.
A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank a dew off a convenient grass and hopped sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. He glanced with rapid eyes and hurried all aboard. They looked like frightened beads. I thought he strid his velvet head like one in danger cautions. I offered him a crumb and unrolled his feathers and rolled him softer home. Then oars divided the ocean, 2 silver for a seam, or butterflies of banks of noon leap plashes as they swim.
MashaAllah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for sharing that poem with us. So that was just a poem explaining about nature, and also this poem was titled "A Bird Came Down the Walk." So that finishes all our information, poems and stories about nature. And after the break, we'll be doing some craft, as it will be our craft segment. And on today's craft segment, we'll be making origami trees. So I'd like to say thank you very much for watching so far, and stay tuned after the break to know how to make these really easy, simple origami trees. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to Future Stars with an arts and crafts segment. And today's arts and craft will be coinciding with today's topic on Future Stars, which was nature in Islam. So today's craft will be making origami trees. And these are really simple to do, so we'll be going by the instructions slowly so you can follow suit. And to reintroduce my guests, today we have Sister Zainab and Brother Abbas, and they are joining me with our craft today. So, as with all of the origami that we have been doing in the past, we will be needing to use a square piece of paper. Now we're using green because we are going to make green trees, but if you do want to make a different colour tree, then you can use a different colour of green paper, of square paper. But if you want to make it out of white paper or any kind of card, it doesn't have to necessarily be a colour, but what we're going to do is going to use it to make our tree following a series of steps. Now, as with all origami sessions, you can use any kind of paper. It doesn't have to be this size necessarily. You can use an A4 piece of paper, and with your A4 piece of paper, what you can do is just take your A4 piece of paper and you can fold it down so the corners, so this corner here on your A4 piece of paper goes up to the top. It won't go the whole way because you're making a square, but this corner should be folded in half to create your square out of an A4 piece of paper. So what you've done is you've halved this corner at the top and taken this corner at the bottom over to the length side, and you crease it down here, and then what you can do is just cut off this little piece here, as then if it's not here, if you did not have that piece, you'll have this shape here, and then when you opened it out, it will be a square. So that's just a quick way on how to make a square out of A4 piece of paper. But you can also use card or any kind of material that you like, and you could try with fabric, but it might not get the same results as in origami. A lot of folding of paper is involved. So let's just get started on creating our tree. Now, the first step on making this tree is take your small piece of card, your small piece of paper, and what you're going to do is you're going to get your piece of paper and fold it in half the colour edge. So you have your colour and your plain side, and what you're going to do is you're going to take it so diagonally, so the points are at the top and the side instead of where lengths are. So you can take one point, so this point here, and you're going to fold it over to this point here. So you just take it over and you crease down. You can try and get it as close as possible so that you can get an even side, but don't worry if it's not that perfect, because we are going to be unfolding it, which is our next step. So next step is really simple, just open it out. Now what's going to follow is we're going to take this point here, and because we now have a line down the middle, we're going to take this point here and we're going to take it to meet in the side. And this is going to ensure that this here, this edge is going to meet up with this line in the middle. So if I just do it and show you. Now for this, what we're doing, we're just folding inside the green area. So as you can now see that we have this edge of the square has met up with the middle of the square piece of paper. So now you have half a cone shape, and you're just going to press that down. So as you can see, you have the line matching up, and you're just going to press that down so you have a smooth line, and it should look like this so far. Right, and you're going to do exactly the same, so it's okay if you've rushed ahead, and you're just going to do exactly the same with the next side. So you're going to take this corner over here, and you're going to take it into the middle to match up to the centre line. So if I just quickly do that to show you, and try and get them even as possible, but again it doesn't matter as they'll all be hidden. So as you can see, it now looks like a little cone shape. Right, now this, and you're going to keep it like this, so don't unfold it at the moment. And now at this step, so you should be at this step, and what you're going to do is you're going to take the inner corners that you have just folded over, and you're going to take them out so they match with, so this top line here is going to match with this side. So you just take it over so it matches up like so. And you're just going to do that with the same on this side as well. So we're going to take it over so it matches like so. So just show my guests, it'll match up straight to the side, like Sister Zainab has got it right there, just on the one side. But what you're going to do is, so the top side, this line up here, is going to match with the edge of the cone shape. So no white except from the point will be showing at the moment. So you're just going to do exactly the same to the other side, and just fold it over. So now you have an open cone shape, like so. Sister Zainab has it right there, and if you tear the paper, it doesn't matter, you can just turn it over. So Brother Abbas, you just have it right there, but what you need to do is just take the point over a bit more so it's concealing the whole. So you just can take the point over so that sides match up, like here. So what you're going to do, this side up here this side here is going to match up with the side. So it was here at the top, and then you fold it over, a bit like folding over the square we did earlier, so it matched the sides. So that's both of the sides done, and it looks like an open cone, but with just the point there. Now at this moment in time, what we're going to do is going to turn it over. And at this point, so we can have a completely plain base, we're going to turn it over, and we're going to take this point at the bottom and make it reach right up to this point at the top. So we're just going to fold it so that will happen. So you fold it up. Now, when folding it up, you should have two little points that come out, as you might be able to see right there. And you don't need to fold those over, you need to leave them as they are because this is part of the tree. So just match up, and what you're going to do is you're just going to crease it like so, press it down, and then you're just going to fold it back. But now, just fold it. Now what we're going to do, if you just fold it back up again, and you can take a small size, so you could use measurements if you want to, but we're just going to take just roughly around 1 centimetre or so. And what we're going to do, we're going to take it from the top, and we're going to fold it down like so. So as you can see, the gap is here, a small gap, and then here you would crease it down. So I'm just going to do it so it's even. So you can just do a small gap. So this is how it looks at the back. So yep, Sister Zainab has it right there. You just need to fold it down. Yep, like that. So it should look like that from the front. Yep, Brother Abbas has exactly the same thing. So we're all up to date at the same step. And now we're going to keep at the back, so where it's all completely plain colour. So our plain colour is white. So it's all white, and we just have that little folded over section. Now the next step is to take this same point, and we're going to reach it up to this line, as if you see what line I'm pointing at. The line where we just folded over. We're going to take this point up to this line here. Not going to take it up to this point, we're going to take it to this line across the bottom where you just folded over. So if I show you, we've folded it up to this line over here, as you can probably see, taken this base point up to this line. And you just want to crease it down like so. So now you just have the point, and from the front it should look like this so far. Now you could just leave it like this, but we're going to thin out the bottom, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this corner piece and crease it over. So this part is very tricky, and what you need to do is take this little corner here and fold it over. So so you might be able to see. So just taking this small corner and just folding it over and doing exactly the same, and you can just fold it over really rough and then just opening it out again. And now what we're going to do is take the edge of the bottom of your tree and fold it very gently, so what you just pulled over is going to turn into a flat shape. Now, because this is very difficult, you can skip out this step and it will create the same effect, just the base of your tree will be much thicker than what we're creating. So if you do want to skip out this step, it's absolutely fine, as this step isn't as necessary as for creating the tree. So now what you should have done is just folded it over so that the corners have now turned from a corner into a flat triangle shape, and now it should look like this from the back. Now the next step, which is the final step, and we're going to take this point and fold it over very small. We're just going to fold it over as little as possible, so we're just doing it about that size, and you fold it over and that creates a tree. So as I was earlier saying about this tricky step, is that from a corner, it's a corner here, as you can see there's a corner. When you fold it over, it flattens out, so the corner gets pushed in and it gets turned into a triangle shape. So we've just finished by turning it over, and now when you turn it over, you have your tree. That is the completed look of your tree, and ours looks very small. And now just going to show Sister Fatima and Brother Abbas's tree. So Sister Fatima, Sister Zainab, if you'd like to show your tree. So just follow the steps, and it just created this very simple tree. And Brother Abbas, and just show the camera your tree too. And then we have my tree that we've created here. So we've all created just very simple trees, and it's really easy to do. And if you do forget the steps, you can just search it in your search engine and you can come up with steps, as it's quite simple to do. And that just creates your two, so one from before and a tree today. So just some trees, and you can use them to stick on cards, as they're really small effects that you can use, or you can put them up as a picture and you can add in. Right, so we have our coloured base here. What you could do with a coloured pen is draw in some fruit. So you could draw in some apples, and then you'll have an apple tree. And also, if you wanted to, because the back of ours was white, you can colour in this base bit brown, so it's the brown tree trunk and then the green leaves. And you could colour in some red apples to show a fruit tree. So you could just customise it to the way you like it. So that is it for today's craft, and I hope that you enjoyed it and now know how to make a simple origami tree. And I'd like to say I hope you enjoyed the earlier show of Future Stars, and now you're more informed about nature. So I'd like to say thank you very much to Sister Zainab, and thank you Brother Abbas for coming along today and joining in with today's show and reciting poems and stories for us, and also joining in with today's craft. So thank you very much for coming along. And thank you very much to the callers. Thank you for phoning in and discussing your ideas, and thank you for your contribution to today's show of Future Stars and Craft segment. And thank you very much to the viewers. I hope you now have some more knowledge about nature in Islam, and also know how to make a small craft tree and origami. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's topic of nature. This was Future Stars with the Craft segment, and I'm your host Alvia Zaidi. Khuda Hafiz.